Hello everyone, I've been here trying to replace the starter on my Honda Civic and I got pretty far, but what I didn't realize, I was trying to take shortcuts, there's one screw or like a bolt you should remove before other ones, because without removing the other ones you have no torque, and I ended up tearing out this bolt and part of the old starter. That itself, not the worst problem, although I'm hoping Advanced Auto Parts will take a ripped out starter with a hole ripped out of it. I took this chunk out of it. There's still another chunk hanging off the bolt. Now the problem is I have nothing to torque the bolt against. It's just floating in the, it's like floating on this wire right here. So there's like nothing I can turn it against. And on top of that, the 12mm socket I had that I was using for this, dropped it straight into the engine, don't know where it is now. And Home Depot just closed right now. Back with the mad scientist. So this evening threw me for a loop. I got the new starter right there. I got it and I was taking this one out. Now he wasn't here for this. He was busy, so I said, well, I'm just going to try this myself because, you know, the car, it's really having trouble starting. Took like 50 tries at the key to turn it last night. It's wasting the battery. So went to Advanced Auto Parts, didn't have the sockets I needed. Went to Home Depot. They had what I needed, and I had to keep going back in for more and more because different sizes. I needed different sizes and different extensions. And then I ripped out part of the old starter. It's not such a big deal, but the part I ripped out, the nut, was connected to a wire, and he's putting the air duct back on there now. But so the nut was stuck on that wire, and I was like, well, okay. I ripped out, ripped it out. It was like a potato chip crunching. And pulled it out of part of the old starter. Not such a big deal. Hopefully Advanced Auto Parts still give me a $30 refund for the old one. They said they would, because I guess they'll recycle it. But I had nothing to torque it against. So there was nothing to turn it against and just get it out. And I was like, yeah, I'm over in my, like in over my head. So if you could come out here and help me. So that's why he came out and helped me and did a little teamwork to get that nut out. Now he's doing the rest of this. I did took out all the bolts. Yeah, it was a little bit awkward figuring everything out. And of course, I didn't quite know what I was going to need. So like that extender, I had to go back in twice to get the 6-inch one and 10-inch one because I was like, even the 6-inch one wasn't working. But anyways, it basically worked out. And hopefully Advanced Auto Parts give me a $30 refund for the old starter. This car's been struggling to start for months now. And the really bad thing is it was buzzing, and then it was buzzing more and more. And I know that's just showing the starter's dying. I was having to tap the starter a lot to start it.
Another secret from the mad scientist.
Right. So I wish I had a hammer to hit it better. I was having to use a little ruler, like a straight level, carpenter's level. That was the only thing I could use to tap it. But anyways, so now I'm not going to show this whole thing because it was a whole ordeal and not really going to learn anything from this. But there you go. I got some new tools there. There's the old part of the old starter. I already took off the other parts separately. And we're more or less finishing up here, so not a ton to show, just putting some bolts back in, connecting the air duct, and we're going to reconnect the battery terminal as well. Negative one's the main one. I unconnected the right one just because it was kind of in the way and I wasn't really sure what I was doing, so I was like trying to free up some room. But there you go. I probably saved, what, at least $90, $150 maybe from the mechanic.
More than that, probably.
Yeah.
More than that in labor, at least.
Yeah, right. Even if I just handed them the starter, and that right there was 150 bucks, not counting the refund I hope to get. So, whole backwards experience. When I ripped that part of the starter off, I didn't know what I ripped off at first, and I was like, man, maybe I should just abandon the car right here. It's not even going to be worth fixing. I had no idea what I ripped out. I was like, I don't know if that's an important part of the engine or what.
Well, it's important to a starter, but
yeah,
not the old one.
Yeah, so fortunately, no big deal, but I kind of worked the bolts backwards. I should have started with that one, loosened the other ones, and then finished them all off instead of waiting, you know, taking everything else off and then waiting that last bolt that I had to turn real tight. And then, of course, I turned it so tight and ripped it out. real test will be when the car starts, or how it starts after this. Yeah. He came out last minute, by the way. He was like asking me like, well, what's going on? And then I was like, oh, not only I ripped out that one bolt from the starter, but I was like, I just dropped the 12mm socket, which is the one I needed, into the engine, and I had no idea where it was. And the other so it fell in this tiny little crack. I was looking so long for it. The other thing was, thank goodness, I was at Dollar Tree the other day, and I just saw one of those magnet, like, almost like it's like a car antenna or a radio antenna that extends out. It's telescoping, and it's got a magnet on the end. And I was at Dollar Tree, and I was like, oh, what the hell, I'll buy that. I might need it. And I needed it here. It worked perfectly. Worked like a charm. So now at least I got a whole new tool set. I didn't buy all these tools, I just bought a few things in there. And the magnetic telescoping device worked real great. All right, I'm rolling. So got the mad scientist here. He's trying to start the car now. Wait, it's out of focus. Go for it. Okay, so I hear something clicking.
Your battery's dead.
Fuck, man. Can I get a jump?
You have cables?
No. Man, I gave my cables to a friend of mine who's big.
Might have some when you're dead.
Oh my goodness. My battery's dead. You sure it's not this little piece of copper you put in here? Okay. There was a gap. The positive terminal was a little loose. So my friend put in a little piece of copper that I ripped out from the starter so it doesn't corrode and it has a good connection. And so now I need to see if I can get a jump start, and then I may try and go to a mechanic tomorrow and just see if they can charge my battery. Assuming I can even get a jump start now. If not, not really sure what I'm going to do. But anyways, I'm all alone right now. This is so fucked up. So, the mad scientist driving away back there. I need a charge from my battery. I need a jump, really, and then I needed to get charged. So he's got a friend in Annandale. He's gonna go drive there, get jumper cables so he can come back. And I told him, hey, I'll get you McDonald's or something, like, at least for all your trouble, because he doesn't want money. He's a real nice guy. So now I'm just gonna hang around here at this parking lot. And this thing happened, everybody. My friend was driving to get the jumper cables. I tried the car again, and here's the thing. First I opened up the trunk and the light was on in the trunk. So I'm like, okay, the battery's at least powering that light. I turned the key a few times. It still took a few tries. Like before, it was buzzing and it sounded like it was coming from the ignition, but then it started. So he turned around, and now, so what's the deal with the if the ignition's bad?
Okay, so essentially what you have is you have your wire going to the terminal that's busted off. It's no longer there. But okay, so you have ignition cable comes and touches this, and then you have power coming from your battery going to here. Okay? This is a solenoid, and the solenoid sends power from here to here when the ignition turns. So what you can do is, if there's a problem with your ignition switch or something, you can actually jump these two terminals, and what it does is it sends power from here to here, and it should start, regardless of that ignition wire working. So if there's a problem with the ignition, all you have to do is put something in between here like a screwdriver, and it should start your car.
And just leave it there, or just
no, you do it real quick, and you'll hear your car start.
Wait, so like, how's that procedure supposed to go? Like, okay, I turn the key, it doesn't start, then what?
Then you come under your hood.
Okay.
You take a screwdriver and go in between those two terminals.
Yeah.
And it should start your car.
What? But is the key left in the on position, or what? What do you mean?
Your key will not be in the on position.
Right. Yeah.
Essentially, when you turn your key to start it, you know how it kind of springs back.
Wait. So you said, but it'll start. You mean the next try?
The car will start.
Right when I touch the screwdriver.
Right when you touch those two.
Where's the key? The key's
in the ignition.
Okay.
You put it in the
start position, basically, or on position.
Yeah, the on position.
Yeah.
Because when you turn to start, as soon as you let go of your key, it turns back to on. So as long as you leave it in the on position and you go and touch those two together, your car will start and be running.
Okay.
So
it just sounds bizarre, because how's the car going to start if the key's not being like turned? You know, like
what that key, when you turn the key, it sends a signal to that starter.
Okay.
And essentially makes a bridge between those two terminals.
Okay.
We're gonna do that using a screwdriver. So your key's in the on position where your car needs to be to run, but it doesn't need to send a signal to the starter. That's what that spring.
So in other words, okay, I turn it, doesn't work. I leave the key in the on position. The dashboard's lit up, and then I walk here
and you jump those two terminals
and just touch metal between them, basically.
Metal, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what's the ultimate fix? Like what? Like change the ignition?
Like I said, it could be the ignition.
Okay.
And that's steering column. Pull out the old ignition, put in a new one.
Okay.
It could be the wire from there to over here.
Do you think the starter was actually messed up?
I think
before?
so.
Okay.
Because I tried jumping it before and it wouldn't start. Remember when we tested it before?
Oh, okay.
I tried jumping it.
Oh, I see.
Start either.
You mean with the screwdriver method, or what? Oh, okay.
Same thing.
All right.
The question is, how easy is it to get to?
Yeah, it's not an easy place to get to.
It's not easy, but you don't have to take this off to get to.
Right.
So why don't you go ahead and turn it off?
Okay.
We might be able to get something that's easier to use than a screwdriver.
All right.
Something like made for it, so if you ever have to do it.
Okay, so. Okay.
Go ahead and try to start it again.
Okay.
See what happens.
It's still, you hear it, the buzzing,
I hear the clicking, yeah.
but and also the like from the ignition. The display's lit up. Okay, so I'm leaving the key in the on position. So the key's still in the on position. I just.
So if I take this like this, basically you have this terminal here, this terminal there, right?
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is go like this.
Okay.
Touch those two together.
All right.
And we'll see what happens.
So it's just gonna start like right now.
It should start right now.
Wow. Okay.
Take that rubber.
It's a weird
boot
trick.
off. So then get to this
Right.
rubber boot and take that one off.
Oh, it's a wild night.
The other thing is you can actually go from the battery to that. It's the same thing as what I'm doing. It's jumping it.
Well, how do you mean? Like, what am I doing?
Like if you go from the positive down to that bottom, see the bottom one?
Okay.
If you take a wire from there down to the bottom one, it's the same thing as what I'm doing.
Okay.
Problem is getting
real tight fit. Need to get, you can barely see it, but you can sort of see between those two. I guess like a coat hanger would be good, huh?
Well, what you really want is you want something that's kind of thicker, you know?
All right, so he's stripping a wire. Oh, and this is kind of, it's good because you can actually curl it up. Because space is the big issue. You can't, it's hard to stick a screwdriver down there. It's hard to stick any big straight metal object because there's really no room for it. So let's see how he does this. Oh God.
Key in there?
Yeah, it's on. And I hear it clicking.
Turn the key.
Okay. All right, I'm turning it. I'm turning it.
Yep.
Still turning it.
All the way on.
It turned it. It's still turned. I got it pressed all the way down. Still got to turn.
Put it in park and turn it like you're trying to start the car.
All right. It's turned. I'm gonna keep turning it.
Yeah, keep it on.
Oh, okay, it's still on. This is bad. Working now because it looks like the ignition's bad too. So my friend put this wire and he basically jumped it from there to a connector. You can't really see it on camera on the starter. So it looks like I need a new ignition. And just off the top of your head, do you know if they have that in auto parts stores too?
They should have that.
Okay.
The only other thing it could be is the ignition wire. The wire coming from the ignition to over here.
Oh, too many things.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can test that. So essentially when you get to the ignition, there'll be a wire coming from the ignition to over here. Basically what you'll do is before you pull out the ignition, you'll turn the key and see if there's a signal going from there over to here.
Okay.
If there's a signal coming off the ignition, then you know that it's the wire. If you turn the key and there's no signal coming off there, you know that it's the ignition, and you change it.
Okay, there's no signal. Okay, and they test that at whatever, like AutoZone and stuff?
Not usually, actually.
Oh, okay.
There's something really cheap you can buy.
Okay.
It's basically a test probe.
Okay.
So it's like it looks like a screwdriver with a wire coming out of the back of it. You take that wire and you clamp it onto a metal part of your car, which is negative, and then if you touch anything that's positive, the screwdriver lights up.
Okay.
So it tells you if you're getting a signal anywhere, if you're getting 12 volts anywhere, it'll tell you.
I'm gonna need to write all this down or something. I can't remember all this.
I can definitely help you with that. It could be fuse right here too.
Okay.
So when you turn that right there, you should get power here at the ignition.
Okay.
So I don't have a tester on me, but if you're not doing anything, we can run by my house.
Okay. Well, I may as well.
It's across the bridge, and I got a tester, so we can look at some things while we're there.
Sure. You want to get something to eat first, or what?
Yeah, why not?
Okay,
Why not?
sure. I'll keep that.
That's your special.
You got my flashlight?
Yeah, I'll give you your flashlight. I want to clean it off.
Yeah, that's all right. I will. That's basically. There's still a few more things to look at, but hey, you never know what could happen with your car. Starter's a big thing. Now we got to check the fuse box and the ignition line, and make sure that's all working.
Now to test the actual ignition, like at the key, you got to figure out how to take that out.
Okay.
Because basically, usually you have to pull the steering, pull the steering wheel off.
All right. Let's eat first. So, all right. The process continues. We've isolated the issue with the car starting, I guess, to the starter relay. So that's what my friend here is looking at, and it was a hell of a process trying to find out on Google and YouTube where it was in a 2005 Honda Civic. Just could not find it. So finally he's just looking around and he sees it under the steering wheel. So now we're going to try and isolate exactly where the problem is, if it's with the ignition or the starter relay. I think that's how it goes, but anyway. And it's like 1:30 in the morning, so yeah. Everybody, have someone you can trust the way the mad scientist here. Right, it's like 1:45 in the morning, and this starter relay is so difficult to get out. My friend here just wrapped his needle nose pliers in, I guess, like electrical tape to help get a better grip on it, because it is really hard to get out. So, and then we'll just be able to find out, better isolate what the problem is. But it still looks like the starter was bad, so it was a good idea to replace the starter. And the battery's okay, so it's not the battery or the fuse box. This is still the most wild time trying to fix a car I've ever had. So it's like 2 in the morning. We finally got the starter relay out. My friend here, he needed a smaller pair of needle nose pliers. It was so hard to get out. And we confirmed that is the starter relay because there was no voltage when I turned the key to start the car.
This is from, you see how it says normally open, NO?
Okay.
Normally open, that means it's like a switch that's open. And when power goes across this from your ignition, it closes that and sends a signal to that starter. See this one? I have 12 volts there.
Okay.
Well, leaving here, it's only getting 8 volts.
Okay.
So this relay's bad.
I see. So that's good news. It just means I need a new relay.
Go ahead and put the light back down here real quick.
So my friend, he had his voltmeter, or like it was testing the electricity coming through, and that's how he determined that.
Between the relay and the starter solenoid.
All right, so we just, so I'm filming now. We just checked, and basically what it looks like somewhere between the starter relay under the steering wheel and the starter is a loss in voltage. So it could be some kind of impedance, corrosion. We don't really know yet, but that's narrowing it down. So we know it's not the battery, it's not the fuse box, it's not the starter. Do we know it's not the ignition?
We know it's not the ignition.
Okay.
All we know is that we turn the key, the relay is working.
Okay.
We have 12 volts going to the relay. We got 12 volts leaving the relay, but at the starter solenoid, we only have 9.6 volts.
Right.
And we know that if we run a cable straight from the battery to the solenoid, 12 volts, that it starts, and it will not start on 9.6. So that's our issue.
So we're gonna have to get back to this another time. It's getting freezing cold, and it's like 2 in the morning, and I'm really thankful you're helping me out on this. It was a huge, you can imagine, you know what I would have paid a mechanic for all that. They would have charged me hundreds and hundreds of dollars to look through all this. Right, yeah. It's the next morning. Sorry about the noise. I was able to drive away. The mad scientist was able to get my car started. So what I have to do now, there's not enough voltage going to get the car started. Somewhere between the starter relay and the ignition or something. I forget already. But I got a quick fix. So I got this copper wire, hook it up to the battery, and touch it straight to the starter terminal. And check this out. Sparks are gonna fly. Oh, I don't think you could see that. Oh well, who cares? So that's how I got to start the car every time, and the car was in the on position. So that's how I got to start it every time now. It's kind of cool, I guess. At least it starts reliably, and I don't have to keep turning the key. And the next step I'm going to save for another video, because it could be very convoluted and very time-consuming and painstaking to figure out where the like impedance, or maybe a cut in the wire or whatever, going through the car to the ignition and the from the starter relay. We're going to avoid all that with a pretty simple step that my friend told me about. So that'll be for another video, I guess, because I don't know if we'll get to doing that today. But for now, at least I have this thing that I can reliably use to start my car, to jump it. All right, so I'm going to try the starter again. I've got a Good Samaritan over here on my Kona. Don't worry, I'm not filming you. So what I'm doing, it's going to cause a spark. Some problem going from, I think, the starter relay, between that and the ignition. I'm not totally sure. I'm going to see if we can see the spark here, but this should start. There we go. Got to do that every time I start this, until I get like an on-off switch for it. Yeah. Yeah, it's messed up. I was up till like 2:30 in the morning last night putting a new starter in with my friend, he's a mechanic, and trying to figure out where the voltage is coming, where the impedance, like because it's not getting the batteries given voltage, but it's not getting the full 12 volts to start the car. So I can't be totally sure what exactly is happening. So anyways. Yeah, so now every time I start it, I gotta go like this. Thanks, yeah. Yeah, you work on your car? I noticed, like, you got some modifications and stuff on it? No? Well, that was interesting, wasn't it? All you gearheads out there who are interested in working on cars probably learned something too. You never could guess what was going to happen next with Angelo's car. So we've got more work to do on this thing. Stay tuned, everybody. You're going to like what you see.